Welcome back to another episode. My name's Orlando.
And I'm Omar.
We're the Smart Bros.
This is the Smart Take.
Man, all right. So this will be episode 2. First, we're gonna start off with the Packers game. Obviously, it just ended, so this is gonna be our first reaction to it. First thing we're gonna do is go over some of our predictions from our first episode. So, what were some of your predictions that you got right?
I said that CD would have his first 100-yard game, which he did. And I also said that he'd have a touchdown. I said that TP would score a touchdown. And I thought Zeke was also going to play. So I thought they would combine for at least 140, which they probably would have because TP ran for 115 by himself. I thought Dak would throw at least 2 touchdowns. He did. He threw 3, he also did throw 2 picks. We and you actually both predicted the Dalton Schultz touchdown. They are good for a touchdown from the tight ends. I did not predict. I thought that Devontae Turpin would get a return touchdown, which on the very first return, he was very close. He had a very good return. I know I also predicted about Micah Parsons getting 2+ sacks and he didn't get any, but I think that was more because he didn't really rush. And then I predicted a Diggs pick, but Diggs did not get a pick. They didn't target him at all. So, it was one of those. How about you?
The Dalton touchdown for sure. CD, I thought he had more catches than I thought, and way more yards. I predicted 7 catches, 112 and a touchdown, and he blew that out of the water. So
with 11 for 150.
yeah, so I mean, great showing there. And then yeah, the defense as a whole, I couldn't have predicted any of that. I predicted a block punt, which we didn't get, but they got a fumble on the punt. So I mean, that's even better than a block punt. That's not what I predicted, but it's the outcome is better than I could have predicted because that's we get the ball way down on the other side of the field, and predicted the Tony Pollard touchdown, Dalton's touchdown. I thought Dak would rush one, but I don't know. Didn't really pull any of that out of the playbook this week. So
Oh, and then we obviously both predicted wins, which we ended up
absolutely
in
not.
the most Cowboys way.
Yeah,
We ended
man.
up selling that game.
And it's
But
like even if I didn't predict this, it's not surprising or like because like we said, as scared as we wanted to be of Aaron Rodgers, he just didn't have the weapons, and those weapons told us to shut up because they're like that.
it was actually a slap in the face today watching that game.
Yeah,
It was just like a lot of emotions up and down.
for sure.
We don't watch the games together, guys. We watch them separately. So like, we call each other after everything and just be like, oh my God, like, oh, it's so frustrating watching the Cowboys sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm never gonna switch up. I'm a diehard. Like, we could be 0-17. I'm gonna complain, but I'm always gonna be a Cowboys fan. It is what it is.
Literally.
Man, they make it so hard sometimes. Like, they were 3-6.
Yeah, man. My biggest take right now is I'm most upset with the defense as a whole. As good as the defense as we've been this season, to let a team that didn't have any weapons like that, like those guys, Lazard, he got completely shut down. But what's the other guy's name?
You're talking about their rookie. You're talking about
Yes.
their rookie.
He had like 88 yards on the
Christian
season.
Watson. He had like the most yards he's had all together in any of the games combined. He had 3 touchdowns. Like, come on.
I'll be very surprised if we hear the name Christian Watson like we heard it tonight. I mean, I could be wrong, but
they might not win another game. But it's just like Aaron Rodgers is just. It's like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. When we play them, we just, except for last year, we played Tom Brady pretty well. But it just seems like.
But I mean, we always lose. At the end of the day, as good as no matter how good we play. Yeah, no matter how good we play, we can never pull out the wins. Like Tom Brady,
we've never beat Tom Brady.
Never. And I think our only 2 wins against Aaron Rodgers.
Dak's rookie year, we beat him
and then like early on in his career.
Yeah, for sure.
But since he's been Aaron Rodgers, A-Rod, we have not had anything for that man.
But speaking of that, who would you say, we still got to be optimistic. We can still, the season's not over. So let's look on the good side about it. your MVP of this game?
I definitely have to say CD. He stepped up big time in the first half. That first pick from Dak, I'm pretty like even Michael Irvin said, I'm pretty sure that was his fault. He didn't run the his route as hard as he should have, and so Dak threw it to where he was supposed to be, not to where he was. I mean, I'm not gonna completely take all the blame away from Dak because at the end of the day, he still threw it. He's supposed to like their connection just wasn't there in the first half, but then he stepped up big in the second half. Like you said, for his first 100-yard game, and he got 150 and double digit catches, a touchdown, two touchdowns. So, I mean, I couldn't ask any more of him. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like you hit it on the nose. I gotta say CD as well. And on the first one, based on what I saw when him and Dalton were talking on the sideline and what the commentators were saying, I think that was actually Dalton because he was supposed to take the safety away, number 20. He was supposed to take the safety away, but then when if you could see it, they were like literally like right stacked up against each other. So he was supposed to go under. He was supposed to go under Dalton and bit and like flatten the route out, but he didn't end up doing that because Dalton didn't take the safety out, and so it ended up being a pick. So miscommunications, and then on the second one, Dak's pick, it was he didn't bend the route again. He wasn't even looking. So I'm
Yeah, it
definitely not
wasn't.
gonna.
Yeah,
No, I'm definitely not gonna say it's all CD's fault or it's all Dak's fault. But you're right. They didn't have a great connection in the first half, but they definitely picked it up in the second half, and I would 100% say that he is my MVP of the game because he had a monster game. He looked real receiver one-ish today. And
yeah,
so and whenever it seemed like whenever we called upon his name, he showed up, even on that last play, which I believe was a PI. Not saying that's the reason we lost the game in totality, but I do believe that was a PI that should have been called. And I feel like that when they look back at it, they're gonna be like, yeah, we missed that one. But yeah, I definitely would have to say CD had a great game, and I really, hopefully, this is him and Dak bonding and meshing and trending in the right direction because we need that going down
yeah,
the
man.
back end of this stretch.
I mean, yeah, for sure. If they can, this is them finding it, then yeah, man, we should definitely. And I'd only say a little name like Odell would only, man, that only help us at that point. So,
Hope
uh,
this loss doesn't change his perspective because
yeah,
we're not the team we showed today. We're
yeah,
not. We're
that,
better than that.
yeah, man. But
Offense
luckily,
and defense.
luckily the Bills lost too, so that was one of his other options. But so hopefully we should still be on his radar. I hope that didn't like my prediction before this game that if we beat the Packers, then we beat the Vikings and then beat the Giants on Thanksgiving, I thought I was 100% sure he'd be signed by Black Friday. At this point, I'm not gonna say he's completely out, but I definitely feel like this might change his perspective just a little bit. If you would have had to pick a least valuable player of the game, who would you pick?
I'd have to go Dayron Bland. I mean, he's a rookie, so it's like, I mean, he was just thrown in the fire because Anthony Brown ended up getting a concussion and was out for the game. But because realistically, Anthony Brown most likely would have been the least valuable player based on how he's been playing all season and quite frankly last season. And I know for a fact a video I'm talking about where he said, "Yeah, they talk about Trayvon Diggs, but I'm like that too." No, you're not. Not in
That
my
was he was like that for one game. That one
opinion.
I don't remember who we were playing, but he wasn't. They weren't nobody special, and then he was never like that again.
He gets so lucky. Like even at the beginning of the game, he almost gave up 2 first downs, but the receiver who ended up cooking us all game literally just ended up dropping it. So yeah, I gotta go Dayron Bland. I truly don't know why like we had Diggs falling out of Lazard. Even though he is their number one receiver, I feel like after the first and second touchdown, Diggs either he has to step up and say, all right, I got him, or the coaches gotta DQ has got to be like, dig, go get him. Something's got to change because you can't just let one player, especially regardless if he's their number one receiver. He was the number one receiver tonight. You got to figure out a way to stop that guy. Put our best DB on whoever they're playing best that night, which happened to be, the rookie. And he ended up having a career game. They talk about he's like Randy Moss for the day. He's a second rookie to ever have 3 touchdowns on the Cowboys. Yeah, Dayron Bland, he ended up giving up 2 touchdowns to him. And so I was just like, man, we got to figure it out. We can't allow that. Who would you say?
I honestly can't pick between them because this like group of players as a whole was just terrible for us. Our cornerbacks, all of them. In my opinion, Anthony Brown, yes, like you said, because had he not got a concussion, he was going to be the least valuable player. Then Deron Blaine came in, he then became the least valuable player. And then I tweeted during the game, I had a take on Diggs that I wanted to wait for the podcast. And in terms of our run game, he would be the least valuable player to me. And this is where my take comes in. I am jumping off the Diggs train only because I'm so completely sold on his coverage. I've never been down on his coverage. As a rookie, I saw streaks of it. He was so close to making plays. So in coverage, I'm good. But until he can step up and start being a factor in the run game, I'm gonna be overly critical of him, and I'm saying it now that it's overly critical because it's so bad that I have to be overly critical. The way he allows himself to be just taken out of plays, the way he just allows himself to be blocked, or if he's on the other side of the play, he makes no effort to get to the other side of the field. I just can't have that. As a number one corner, that's what sets him apart from players like Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion. Because as well as Jalen Ramsey plays in coverage, he's just as good as in the run game. He can stop the play. Trayvon Diggs had come up big for us at the beginning of the season. He had that one big stop against the Bengals. But if you're going to be in my opinion, he's one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL. So if you're going to be that, I'm going to need to see that every week. I want to see an active effort to be a factor in our run defense. I feel like that would be a big help in our biggest lacking department as an entire defense.
I like that. He's definitely made strides. Like he shows glimpses like, okay, I can tackle. He shows glimpses that he's willing to tackle, but there's also those, like you said, those times where he allows himself to get blocked, not even trying to get off his block to go make that tackle. And sometimes it's like, even though he does like try to just like set the edge, like even though if he does get blocked out, he's setting the edge to where the runner cuts back in. And so sometimes he's doing his job, but I agree. I would definitely like him to show a little more sense of urgency to go on to make some of those tackles, or at least trying. If you don't make it sometimes, you don't make it sometimes, but you could definitely tell Diggs is not big on tackling. Is probably because he hasn't been a cornerback for too long. He used to be a receiver. He got converted to a corner at Alabama. So that could be a reason, maybe he's never really big on, physicality, tackling. So, but I think DQ has got to really sit them down. Like, this is why I truly think he's got to sit them down and like, look, guys, like, okay, what's going on? Like, why are we so bad against the run? Our D line is so good against pass rush, but not good against the run. It doesn't really make sense. Like, y'all are the same people going. You're both going. You're still going forward. And you feel like it should go hand in hand. If you could rush the quarterback, you should be able to have a good run defense. So I truly don't know what the defense needs to do, because we're just not good against the run. We have Derrick Henry coming up. We have Saquon coming up. We have Jalen Hurts coming up. Like,
we have Dalvin Cook
coming up. Like, we have a lot of people that run the football. Jalen Hurts is a good scrambling quarterback. And it's just like, what are we going to do against them? We can't sell out to stop the run, especially today when Aaron Rodgers is not going to pass that often. You've got to be up like it. We should have made Aaron Rodgers beat us, even though he ended up having 3 touchdowns. Like, I feel like they had way too many rushing yards. You gotta figure out a way to stop AJ Dillon, stop who's their other running back?
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. You got to figure out a way to stop those two, or at least limit them to where they're not getting these big chunks of yards. And yeah, I think DQ has really got to have a talk with the whole defense and focus on physicality, because we've shown that we can do it. We've got to do it for real. We got to be consistently doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Our run defense was definitely lacking today. But honestly, like I said, with the corners being my least valuable players, I think those big plays, I feel like Aaron Rodgers did beat us today. I mean, those 3 touchdowns, those were bombs, all of them. And so, like, we were getting them down. One of them was on like 4th and 7. Another one was on a 3rd down. Like, our defense was bending and not breaking with the run, and then completely breaking in half when he did beat us.
All of his passes, play action, run, oh, play action, throw it deep. So it's like, their run game is what they're just luring us to sleep, run, run, run. And then as soon as we fall asleep, oh, Deron Bland, we have a rookie on him.
Yeah. Oh
Anthony
yeah.
Brown, he has playing good. Hand play action, deep ball. And it's not even like they were making crazy catches. They're wide open.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's the only reason I'm saying, like, I feel like the run, like, yeah, they didn't score a lot of rushing touchdowns, but the run was what was getting us, I guess, sleep. I feel like, honestly, though, we should be able to man up against no real number one receivers and just stack the box. And then that way, that's when you start, the pass rush starts to come in, because then he has to pass it. You go on our passing downs on third down, they're getting 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4th. It's where you got to make them to where they have to throw on third down. They don't really have to throw on third down because it's 3rd and 3. That's short. The way their run game was going, they could run it.
Yeah, they were absolutely getting like 4 to 5 yards a carry, and that's just yeah, it's just set your defense up. So
Both of
that
them.
opens once you yeah that opens up third and short, and once you get third and short, your playbook is completely open.
Couldn't agree more. But what do you think we need to do offensively going forward to where we can make a push in the playoffs?
Honestly, with our offense today, the only problems I really saw were at the beginning of the game. Like we struggled in the first half. It were just those turnovers. Like you said, it was just Dak and the receivers not really being on the same page. And then once we tightened that up, I don't know. When it came to the plays where we would get a 3 and out or we would stall, it seemed like we would be pushing and then we'd either get a penalty or there'd be a play call where I'd be like, now what was that? Why would we run that right there? And so I feel like we just gotta stay consistent with our play calling sometimes. Like I feel like we got away from the run game a lot. Like I feel like the same way the Packers run game was breaking us down, was like opening up our receivers. I feel like that's what kind of opened us up. And then once they kind of came back into it, we kind of abandoned that. Dad texted us and said that our run game is what opened up that CD and Dak touchdown, and it probably did because Tony Pollard was getting great yardage per carry, and so was Malik Davis. So I feel like we just got to stay consistent with our play calling and not abandon the run game, especially if we're gonna have Zeke there. If we're gonna have Zeke and Tony Pollard, there's no reason we shouldn't be running the ball effectively.
I agree, because Malik Davis, he 5 carries, 38 yards. That's very good for one, a rookie running back, two, who's not getting very many carries. If our rookie running back who's not getting a lot of carries is getting 7.6 yards per carry, there's no reason that our Tony Pollard like back should not be running more. Like, don't get me wrong, we ran the ball, but it seems like once we get to late in the day, we just give it to Dak, like, hey, go win us the game, when we don't have to do that, especially when you're up 14 in the fourth quarter. You don't
Yeah,
have to throw it. Like, that's just speeding the game up. You need to slow the game down, especially, look, I'm talking about handoff. If you have to throw it, make a safe pass, run, just like the Packers did to us. I think that's how we would have won this game. They say they always preach we want to be balanced, and we'll be balanced for a little bit, but then they just, like you say, abandon it. And I think that's where we go wrong.
yeah, man. So what do you think about that? The call to go for it on that last fourth down instead of kicking that field goal in overtime.
I'm one of those guys, like, we're only upset because it didn't work. Like, if it did work, we're praising Mike McCarthy. Oh, that takes guts. We got it. Like, and let's just say we went down and win the game. That's what you got to do to win playoff games. That's what you got to do to win big games on the road. But but we didn't get it. I don't hate that we went for it. I do think the way Brett's been kicking, we should have probably just kicked the field goal, because he's been very consistent this year, which me and you have said a lot. Kudos to Brett Maher. When we signed him, I was like, oh God, because of how bad he was when in his first stint in Dallas. But I will say he has definitely surprised me and won me over. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know if Michael Carly was put in a tough position. I personally probably would have kicked it. I don't hate that we went for it, because we put our number one receiver in a good position to catch the ball. Even he had a big game against their number one corner, which, again, like I say, I think that was a PI. If you look at the picture, he jumped on his back before. Risky call, or could have went either way. So yeah, man. How do you feel about it?
I absolutely hated that decision. I think that was Mike McCarthy absolutely trying to go down and win that game in his return to Green Bay. He wanted to go down, score a touchdown, not even give Aaron Rodgers a chance. When in that situation with the personnel we have, I honestly would have rather kicked the field goal and then made Aaron Rodgers then drive down the field. I feel like all the receivers that they have kind of caught us off guard in a sense, and I feel like we could have, if we put points on the board right there at that point, we could then our defense could check up one possession, be the defense they know they can be against offense that they're better than. And so I feel like we should have put the game in our defensive hand after we got in field goal range and kind of stalled out based on questionable play calling.
and
Even
some
before, yeah,
and
even
some
before,
flags because we got a first down on the Jalen Tolbert offsides, which Dak said that the ref told him to scoot up. I don't really know what that's about. And then
yeah,
the hold on Connor McGovern, that was also another first down run. I mean, we still got it. We still got a lot of the yards back on the Dalton catch, but though penalties like that they're just so demoralizing, and they just take the life out of an offense. And so I would definitely agree. I would we probably should have kicked it, but you know, we just got to move forward, I guess.
yeah. I mean, only thing we can do now is move on. We are 6-3 now, so we still have a chance to make the playoffs.
Have a good chance based on how weak the NFC as a whole has been because we have three of the best teams in the NFC in our division. So if we just got to make one of those wild cards, which I think we still can. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think we can make one of those last wild card spots. I'm honestly not so sure about our chances of winning the division, only because with the Eagles being undefeated still at this point, even the Giants having a better record than us, we'd have to completely win out and they'd have to drop some games.
Based on how well they're playing and who they have coming up, losing three, it just doesn't seem realistic. I mean, I've seen crazier things, seeing as we lost to 3-6 Packers, but I mean, we'll just definitely see. We'll continue to stay the course. They got to be resilient, got to be tough minded, and just double down. Focus on the P's and Q's. Listen. I guess I'd say I think DQ is gonna. I think DQ is gonna get the defense right. I think based on how he has been in the last two seasons, Kellen Moore. I mean, I think he's just still just hit or miss. You never know with him. You never know with Dan. Or you never know with Mike McCarthy how he's gonna call our games. So we got to stay optimistic. We got to just hope for the best.
Yeah, man, that's where I'm at right now. I definitely want to know how we bounce back from this, but I definitely think we can. We have the personnel. Odell is still out there, so I mean, that can only open up our offense. Our defense definitely needs to look themselves in the mirror and really, really figure out who they are because as good as our offense can be, it seems like we can never have them at the same time. Like, even in the same game, once our defense gets a stop, then our offense can't score, or our offense goes down and scores, but then our defense can't get a stop. So I don't know. Even the defense as a whole in these last couple of weeks, it doesn't seem like as weird as it is to say now it doesn't seem like this is the same defense that was playing with Cooper Rush. Obviously, not saying Cooper Rush is better than Dak. I think that's honestly saying the opposite. I think the defense looks at the situation, looks at Dak the same way you say they kind of give Dak the ball at the end of the game. Is like, go win it for us. I feel like the defense, they like, oh, we got Dak. We should. It seems like they don't even play as hard, and I don't know why that is.
Sometimes it's not all the time,
Yeah,
but
not all
definitely.
the time. It's not. It's just I just need them to. I just need them both to be clicking at the same time, and then man, this team could really go far.
I agree. But hey, guys, that's another episode of the Smart Take podcast. We really appreciate y'all tuning in. Leave a like, comment, share with your friends. Keep telling them subscribe. We have our next video coming up. We're going to do a little pregame against the Vikings because we have the Vikings coming up. They're 8-1, so it's going to be a big test, especially after a gigantic loss from an NFC opponent. So, anything else you need to say?
If you guys could just leave us a comment who you think the most valuable player was and the least valuable player was, and then also tell us what you want us to touch on for next week, and we'll get into it for you guys. All right, so I'm Orlando.
I'm Omar.
We're the Smart Bros.
This is the smart take.